For the review of the movie Outsourced, I picked the third prompt. And in the third prompt, we were asked to select some examples of jargon, slang, and idioms from both the U.S. and Indian people. And so for some of the examples that I picked out from the U.S. side was when Todd was just picked up from the train station and he was being driven home and asked what he actually does for work. And he said that he sells kitsch to rednecks and now he has to train some other schmuck to do it. And there was a lack of communication here as the person who was taking over his job didn't know what kitsch, rednecks, or schmuck was. And then another example from the U.S. side is he said he used to play baseball in college and they thought that he meant he played cricket. And then another one is that he was talking about how in America it just makes sense that you work so much to pay, or then you go into credit card debt just so you can have a 50-inch plasma. And what he thought, or he asked if he meant having an SDSI or a DigiBlack, which I'm not even sure what those are, but there was a miscommunication there. And then another example was when he was talking about how Americans shorten all of their sentences. So they were training the staff to say, "You talking to me," or "You talking to me," instead of "Are you talking to me?" From the Indian side, some examples were when he was asked, or they asked Todd, "What is your good name?" Todd did not know what a good name was. Just seems to be a miscommunication there. And then when they were on the phone talking to a customer, the customer was asking what a good idea to get their grandson for school. And the person answering the phone said perhaps some rubbers, meaning erasers. But in America, that's not what that term means. And then another example is when Todd found the flyer for McDonald's and he thought that it was McDonald's, and he went and they didn't even have hamburgers. And then, so some ways that differences in languages make communication difficult, especially in the workplace, is that oftentimes the same word can have different meanings. And so one example I picked out is when the girl that Todd falls in love with mentions that they're also native English speakers, but a lot of the same words that both Americans and Indians were using had totally different meanings, which caused a lot of communication errors. And then another thing is just cultural differences make something seem super obvious to people within that culture, while other cultures may have no idea what they're talking about. And this definitely can lead to a misunderstanding, as you don't know when to explain further or use different word choice. So Todd, he doesn't start out very good at communicating, but he quickly learns. So some of the ways that he does this is by describing the word or phrase in a different way when the original word is confusing to the speaker or listener. He also asks clarifying questions to make sure that he understands what they're actually trying to say, and then he restates what he hears occasionally. So one time she was talking about how in the symbol of creation they smeared ash on his body, and he says ash. And then he also listens and to make sure that he understands what is trying to be communicated.